A phone propped on the dashboard, window down, second gear, crawl over a speed bump in a supermarket car park. That's the video hundreds of Model Y owners have filmed this year because it's the only way to prove a noise to a service center. Clunk from the front of the car, loud enough to hear over music. One owner described it as sounding like the thing was falling apart. The forum thread documenting it passed 127 pages and 2,500 posts by March 2026. So this one isn't a ranking. This is 5 Teslas and the single worst problem each of them has, the one that dominates the owner threads in the first 12 months, and what happens when you take it to service. This isn't a review. It's the part that comes after the review, once the press cars have gone back and real people are living with these things every day. I haven't driven any of them. I've read the threads, the recall notices, the regulator filings, and the post people write at 11 at night after their third failed service visit. As of July 2026, that's where things stand, and with Tesla, it can shift with a software push. Let's start with the one I just described, the Model Y, and the front suspension clunk. This is the current car, the 2025 and 2026 refresh, the one everyone calls Juniper, and the description is remarkably consistent from owner to owner. A knocking or clunking from the front end at low speed, over bumps, over broken tarmac, worst on rough surfaces. Not a trim squeak. Owners are clear about that distinction, and it matters because it reverberates through the body into the cabin rather than coming from a loose panel. What makes it a proper case study is the service pattern. Owners report control arm mount replacements, then the noise returning weeks later. Others report being told it's within normal tolerance. Aftermarket bushings, foam, tape. The threads are full of people who tried their own fixes first and gave up. And the standard advice that's emerged from owners themselves is telling. Film it, log every visit, keep the part numbers, note who you spoke to. That's not enthusiast behavior. That's people building a paper trail. Alongside it, the rear seat. One owner, 6 Teslas since 2017, so hardly a hater, worked out that the power rear bench rattles only when it's upright, never folded. No latches to blame because the seats are powered. Tesla had already fixed a rattling windscreen camera housing on the same car. His words were roughly, 1 down, 1 to go. And he still says he loves the car. That's the honest version of Model Y ownership, genuine affection, and a running list. Owner survey comments on the 2025 and 2026 cars add the rest of the picture. Doors and tailgate needing adjustment after delivery. A driver's seat foam going lumpy within days. Taken in and coming back. Looking worse. A bonnet, hood, sitting too low, which limits which wiper blades will fit. Thin paint that chips. A driver's window that dropped itself a couple of inches on closing until it was realigned. But here's the one that moved from annoyance to regulator territory. The door handles. American federal regulators expanded an investigation into Tesla's retractable exterior handles, having logged reports of them going inoperative when the 12-volt battery voltage drops. In some of those reports, children were shut inside. Tesla was ordered to hand over records. That's not a rattle. That's a family reality problem in the most literal sense, and it's the reason I'd want any Tesla owner reading this to know exactly where the manual interior release is on their specific car before they need it. Number 2, the Model 3, and the thing that gets under your skin. Mechanically, this is the least troublesome Tesla. I said as much recently, and the data hasn't moved. The worst problem on a Model 3 isn't a failure at all, it's the controls. The refreshed car deleted the stalks. Indicators went to buttons on the wheel. Gear selection went to the screen. Owners describe indicating the wrong way on roundabouts, hunting for the wiper control in sudden rain, and misregistering inputs for the first couple of months. Some adapt in a fortnight and never think about it again. Others still complain a year in. That's a genuine split, and I can't tell you which camp you'd land in. Then the software layer. Screen freezes needing a reboot. Camera calibration faults that switch driver assistance off mid-journey until an update or a service visit sorts it. And on the highway condition specifically, the picture is unresolved in a way I'm not going to paper over. American regulators escalated their investigation into Tesla's full self-driving system to an engineering analysis in March 2026, having identified 9 crashes connected to the technology in reduced visibility conditions, up from 4 in the initial review. Separately, Model Y Robotaxis in Austin were involved in 5 crashes between December 2025 and January 2026. What I can't tell you is how that translates to your motorway commute with your hands on the wheel, because that data doesn't exist yet in any form I'd trust. Money for a Model 3, and this is the practical bit. High torque and heavy curb weight chew tires. Owners are commonly advised to set aside somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 across the first couple of years for tires, alignment, and the odd trim or suspension fix. Call that 800 to 1,150 pounds, or roughly 1,500 to 2,300 Australian, as of mid-2026. Brakes usually last well because Region does most of the stopping. Number 3. The Model S, and the noise you paid extra to hear. The Model S is the quietest car in the range, and that turns out to be a liability. Owners on recent cars report creaking over road imperfections, and the framing that keeps coming up is that the silence exposes everything. In a car with an engine, half of this is masked. The defining problem, though, is the air suspension. Clunks over speed bumps, and during low-speed steering, usually traced back to control arm bushings or end links. On 21-inch wheels, the ride turns crashy over poor surfaces. Inner edge wear on the rear tires from camber and toe settings, which an alignment resolves once someone measures it properly. Owners also flag the older media units aging into lag and ghosting, and retractable door handles and boot latches on earlier cars. Now, the fair side, and it's substantial. In cold weather data drawn from tens of thousands of real cars, the S and X held roughly 88 to 89% of their range at freezing, the strongest in the Tesla lineup, and better than most electric cars sold anywhere. If your winter is a long motorway run in Alberta, the Highlands, or the South Island, that number will matter to you more than any rattle in this video. Number 4, the Model X, and the doors. It could only be the doors. Production has wound down and remaining cars are going out of inventory, so this is increasingly a used purchase. The Falcon wing doors are double-hinged, heavy, packed with obstacle sensors, and they sit exactly where rain, grit, and winter salt collect. The full case, and it's 1 week old at the time of the post, a 2026 Model X where the doors wouldn't open fully about half the time. Wife, 2 toddlers in car seats, kids climbing through the front seats to get out. Owner watching recalibration tutorials online 7 days into ownership. How widespread? Across a decade of Model X builds the failure descriptions barely change. Door halts partway insisting on an obstacle that isn't there. Won't seat flush. Clicks repeatedly. Rubs the body, which wears paint and seal, which then gives you wind noise at speed, and on older cars, water getting in. Tesla's response has been software recalibrations and mechanical revisions across the years, and the 2026 car still carries the same fundamental design and balance because it's earned rather than assigned. Underneath that stranded toddler's post, another owner with a 2024 X said they love the doors precisely for fitting car seats, and their advice was to keep returning to service until they're right. Same doors, opposite experience, which leaves the last one and the worst of the 5 by a distance, the Cybertruck. 8 recall campaigns inside 18 months of launch. One in 2025 covered around 46,000 trucks, very nearly the entire production run to that date, for an exterior panel that could come off while driving. The full owner case is a squeak. One owner logged 50 days in service over it, 40 of those consecutive. Parts replaced, insulation added, several approaches attempted. The noise stayed. Other owners in the same group reported the same noise and the same dead end. Another owner in California posted about a red critical rear axle error appearing 3 times across a year. Told it was software. His wife saw the same error driving home, reset the car twice, got back. He then found nothing available in the service diary for 2 to 3 weeks. And the towing reality, which is the condition that matters most for a pickup. Real-world tests and owner reports put range loss towing between 40 and 70%, depending on weight and speed. A 6,000-pound trailer commonly brings a truck rated over 300 miles down to somewhere between 115 and 160. At maximum rating, owners report figures nearer 90 to 100 miles. Add that some supercharger bays are hard to reach with a trailer attached, so you may be unhitching to charge. That's the part I'd struggle with, not the number itself. Every electric truck pays that tax. It's the planning. A 300-mile tow becomes a day with 3 stops in it. Now the ex-owners because they have nothing left to defend. One long-term Model Y owner sold up and bought a hybrid instead. His reasons weren't faults. He moved flats and lost home charging, and supercharging cost more than fuel, plus a meaningful chunk of time. He'd watched depreciation, and he was irritated by the cabin camera monitoring his eyes. He sold the Model Y for around $25,000 and bought the hybrid for $12,000 and says he's happy. Another owner ran a Model Y for 4 years, then found his work involved constant long-distance driving across varied terrain, and charging logistics stopped fitting his life. He got about $21,000 for it, roughly 16,000 pounds, or around 32,000 Australian. Neither of those is a bad car story. Both are wrong car for that life stories. And that distinction is the whole point. Someone who loses home charging is describing your future too, if you're in a flat with no driveway. Two things I won't pretend to know. Complaint databases count raw reports, not rates per vehicle, so the best-selling car in the world will always top a complaint table. And on the Juniper Clunk, I could not find a published root cause from Tesla, only owner-documented repairs with mixed results. I'm flagging that, not claiming it's unfixable. Your turn. If you own one, tell me your climate and your one complaint. That's the comment I read first. Ex-owners, I especially want you. What actually flipped it, and what did you replace it with? And if you're waiting on delivery right now, tell me which model and I'll watch for your update in a year. We went through the whole Tesla range ranked by first-year problems recently, and this video is the detail underneath that list. Next week, the electric SUVs people cross-shop against the Model Y with the same treatment. That's where it stands as of now. Whatever you choose, go in knowing what the threads say. See you next time.